The first time I met the man the world called a monster, I was wearing mismatched socks and arguing with a security guard about whether emotional trauma counted as an acceptable reason to be late. It did not. I wasn't trying to marry him. I was trying to survive the worst Monday of my life. It started with a letter. A thick, cream-colored envelope delivered by a man who looked like he'd personally escorted demons across hell's border. He didn't knock. He simply appeared at my door, stared at me like I was a misplaced object, and said, "You're expected." Expected where? By who? And why did his suit cost more than my entire existence? Inside the envelope was a contract. Thick. Heavy. Smelled expensive. The kind of document that whispered lawyers were involved in, and none of them were kind. At the top, in bold black letters, marriage agreement. I laughed. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Because obviously, this was a prank. A poorly executed, deeply unfunny prank. Except that the contract had my full name, my date of birth, my address, my signature, from a document I'd signed months ago during what I remembered as a harmless employment verification form. Apparently, I had accidentally agreed to marry a man I'd never met. And not just any man. The one whispered about in newsrooms. The one politicians feared. The one tabloid called the devil in a tailored suit. Lucian Blackwood. The monster the world feared. And according to page 47, subsection C, my husband. I would have fainted if the chair hadn't caught me first. By the time the car arrived to take me to him, my soul had already filed a resignation letter. The mansion looked like it had been built by someone who hated happiness. Tall black gates. Cold marble floors. Paintings that stared at you like they knew your secrets and were deeply unimpressed. I was escorted inside by men who didn't blink. Not once. Then the doors opened. And there he was. Lucian Blackwood stood by the window, back to me, dressed in a black suit so perfectly tailored it looked stitched onto his body. He was tall. Broad-shouldered. Still. Terrifyingly still. The kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice because silence obeyed him. When he turned, I forgot how breathing worked. He wasn't monstrous in the way I expected. No scars. No esner. Just sharp features, dark eyes, and a presence that felt like standing too close to a storm. "You're late," he said calmly. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Then opened it again. "I was kidnapped," I said helpfully. So technically, I was early for my own abduction. One of his eyebrows twitched. Progress. He studied me the way one might study a strange animal that wandered into a boardroom. "You don't look like how I imagined." "Well," I said, smoothing my wrinkled dress, "you don't look like a monster either. More like a very expensive funeral." Silence. Then, something incredible happened. Silence. He smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a friendly one. More like a glitch in his personality software. "Interesting," he murmured. "You're not afraid." I was absolutely terrified. But my mouth had clearly decided to freelance. "I am," I said. "I'm just multitasking." That was the moment I realized two things. 1. I had just married the most dangerous man alive. 2. He was watching me like I was the first unpredictable thing in his very controlled life. The contract was signed. The ring was placed on my finger. Cold, heavy, final. "You are mine now," he said quietly. I swallowed. "Well," I replied, forcing a smile, "on the bright side, at least you're rich." For the first time, a real laugh escaped him. Low. Dark. Almost startled. And just like that, I had unknowingly stepped into a life of secrets, danger, and a man the world feared. A man who, as I would soon discover, had married me not because he wanted a wife, but because he needed one. Before the story gets even darker, and somehow more romantic, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part of this dangerously addictive story. Trust me, it only gets better from here. If there's one thing nobody tells you about marrying a powerful, terrifying man feared by governments and whispered about in dark corners of the internet, it's this. The silence is louder than the chaos. The mansion was too quiet. Not peaceful. Not calm. Quiet like the air was holding its breath. I woke up in a bedroom so large I briefly wondered if I'd accidentally rented a ballroom in my sleep. Black silk curtains. A bed big enough to host a small war. Chandeliers that probably cost more than my entire bloodline. And me, still very much alive. Unfortunately awake. Definitely married. I sat up slowly, half expecting armed guards or lawyers to burst in and say, "Just kidding, wrong girl." Instead, there was a note on the bedside table. Neat handwriting. Precise. Terrifyingly controlled. "Breakfast is at 9. You are not a prisoner. You are safe here. Elle." I stared at the note. "You are not a prisoner" is exactly what someone says when you absolutely are one. I got dressed, clothes already laid out, perfectly my size, which was unsettling for reasons I didn't want to unpack, and followed the smell of coffee through the halls. The dining room was massive. Sunlight poured in through tall windows. The table looked like it belonged in a royal palace. And at the head of it sat Lucian Blackwood, reading the newspaper. Like a normal human man who didn't own half the city and allegedly ruined lives before breakfast. "Good morning," he said without looking up. I hesitated. Am I allowed to speak, or do I need to submit a written request? Sit. I did. Breakfast was, shockingly normal. Eggs. Toast. Fruit. No poisoned goblets. No interrogation. Just the sound of cutlery and the faint hum of the city outside. I broke first. "So," I said, "when exactly were you planning to tell me why I'm here?" He folded his newspaper carefully, as if this moment deserved respect. "You were chosen." My fork paused mid-air. By who? The universe? A very drunk lawyer. By me. I waited for more. None came. "Okay," I said slowly. "And why did you choose me?" He studied me in a way that made my skin prickle. Not like a predator. More like someone protecting a secret. "Because," he said, "you're the only person who can survive what's coming." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Oh, you definitely married the wrong girl," I said. "I cry when my phone battery hits 10%. For a moment, something dark flickered behind his eyes. "You don't know what you're capable of," he said quietly. That was the first time I felt it. Not fear. Something heavier. Something like fate wrapping its fingers around my wrist. Later that day, I explored the house. Every door led to another mystery. Security rooms. Locked wings. Whispered staff who went silent when I passed. Everyone treated me like glass. Or royalty. Or both. That night, I found him in his study. He was standing by the window, city lights reflecting off the glass, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. "You don't sleep much," I said. He didn't turn. "Sleep is a luxury. So is marrying a stranger." That earned me a low chuckle. "Do you hate me?" he asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. "I don't know you well enough to hate you," I said honestly. "But I don't fear you the way everyone else does." He turned then, eyes sharp. "You should." "Maybe," I replied. "But something tells me the real monster here isn't you." Silence stretched between us. Then he spoke so quietly I almost missed it. "They'll come for you." My heart skipped. "Who?" "My enemies." The room felt colder. "That's why I married you," he continued. "Not because I wanted a wife, but because I needed someone they would never suspect." I stared at him, the pieces clicking into place. I wasn't a bride. I was a shield. A decoy. A secret weapon. And somehow, terrifyingly, I didn't want to run. Because beneath the danger, beneath the darkness, I saw it. A man carrying a war alone. And somehow, impossibly, he'd chosen me to stand beside him. If you're hooked already, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because in the next part, things get dangerous, secrets start to bleed, and love becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. By the third day of being married to a man feared by governments and whispered about in conspiracy forums, I realized something important. Nobody in that house knew how to act around me. The staff avoided eye contact as if I were a ticking bomb. The guards bowed slightly when I passed. Even the air felt respectful, which was confusing, because I still couldn't find the kitchen without getting lost. That morning, I wandered into a hallway I definitely wasn't supposed to be in. I knew because the temperature dropped 10 degrees and the walls went from expensive mansion to final boss lair. And at the end of the hall, a door. Black. Reinforced. Locked with a keypad, fingerprint scanner, and what looked suspiciously like a retinal scanner. Naturally, I touched it. It beeped. Then the lights turned red. Then a calm, mechanical voice said, "Unauthorized access." I froze. Because behind me, I felt it. That presence. "Curiosity is a dangerous habit," Lucien said. I turned slowly. He was standing there, jacket off, sleeves rolled, expression unreadable. The lights cast shadows across his face that made him look exactly like what the world believed he was. A monster. "I got lost," I said weakly. "Your house is aggressively large." His gaze flicked to the door, then back to me. "That wing is restricted." "Good to know," I said. "I'll just unrestrict myself." He didn't smile. But his eyes softened, just a fraction. "Come," he said. "Before you get yourself killed." That felt like an overreaction. Or maybe not. He led me away, his hand hovering near my back, never touching, like he was afraid I might shatter. We stopped in a quiet room overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. No guards. No cameras. "This is the only place I can speak freely," he said. "Is this where you monologue?" I asked. His lips twitched. Then his face turned serious. "You are in danger," he said. "Far more than you realize." I crossed my arms. "Because of your enemies?" "Yes." "And because I'm married to you?" "Yes." I exhaled slowly. "You know, most men bring flowers or emotional baggage. You brought international threats. I didn't intend for you to be involved. But I am." He met my eyes. "Yes." Silence settled between us. Finally, I asked the question that had been burning in my chest. "Why me?" His jaw tightened. "Because you're invisible," he said. "To them. You have no ties, no power, no enemies. You were supposed to be safe." I blinked. Wow. That might be the nicest insult I've ever received. He almost smiled. "Then everything changed," he continued. "The moment they realized I had married someone ordinary." My stomach twisted. "They'll come for you," he said. "To hurt me." The air felt heavier. "And if they do?" I asked quietly. His voice dropped. "I will burn the world before I let them touch you." I believed him. And that terrified me more than anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed his words, his eyes, the way his voice softened when he spoke to me like I was something fragile. I slipped out of bed and wandered into the hallway. That's when I heard it. That's when I heard it. Raised voices. I followed the sound until I reached his office door, slightly open. Inside, Lucien was on the phone. "You promised she'd be safe," he said coldly. A pause. "No. She doesn't know everything. And she never will." My heart pounded. "I won't sacrifice her," he continued. "I don't care what it costs." Another pause. Then, quietly, "She's not bait. She's my wife." I stepped back, my breath caught in my throat. In that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just married to a monster. I was married to a man who was willing to destroy the world to protect me. And somehow, I was starting to fall for him too. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because in the next part, secrets will be exposed, blood will be spilled, and love will be tested in ways neither of them saw coming. If fear had a sound, it would be the silence that followed the night I overheard that call. I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of him, but because I was afraid for him. Lucien Blackwood didn't toss and turn. He didn't pace or drink or brood like tortured men in movies. He slept like someone who had already made peace with hell. And that scared me more than anything else. Morning came wrapped in tension. The house felt different, alert, like it was holding its breath. Guards doubled. Doors locked automatically. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms. I was officially the most dangerous thing in the building. At breakfast, Lucien studied me over his coffee. "You didn't sleep," he said. "Neither. Neither did you." A pause. "You heard," he concluded. "I didn't deny it. Are you going to tell me the truth now?" I asked. "Or are we still pretending I'm just some decorative wife you keep around to confuse your enemies?" His jaw tightened. "I never wanted you involved," he said quietly. "You were meant to be invisible." "Well, congratulations," I snapped. "You married the least invisible person alive." Something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe guilt. "They're moving faster than I anticipated," he admitted. "My enemies. They think you're leverage." "And are they right?" He met my gaze. "Yes." The word hit like a slap. I stood up. "Then I need to know everything." He hesitated. "Everything," I repeated. "No more secrets. If I'm a target, I deserve the truth." He studied me for a long moment, as if weighing the cost of honesty. Then he spoke. "I wasn't always this man," he said quietly. "I built an empire to survive. Then I became the thing people feared. Because fear keeps you alive." I listened, heart pounding. There are people who want me dead. People I once trusted. They failed, every time. So they changed tactics. "By using me," I whispered. "Yes." The air felt thick. "They believe you're my weakness," he continued. "And in a way, they're right." My throat tightened. "Because I don't care if they kill me," he said softly. "But I would burn the world to keep you safe." The room fell silent. I should have been terrified. Instead, I stepped closer. "You don't get to decide that alone," I said. "If they're coming for me, I deserve a choice." His jaw flexed. "I won't let you fight my battles." "Then stop treating me like a hostage," I shot back. "I married you. Whether we planned it or not, we're in this together." For the first time since I met him, he looked shaken. Not angry. Not cold. Shaken. And then, like the universe had impeccable timing, alarms blared. Red lights flooded the hallways. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Security breach. East Wing compromised." Lucien moved instantly, grabbing a gun from the table. "Stay here," he ordered. "No," I said. "I'm coming with you." He turned, eyes blazing. "This isn't a game." "I know," I said, stepping closer. "And neither is my life." For a long second, he stared at me. Then, quietly, he said, "Stay behind me. No matter what." The sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. Shouts. Chaos. And in that moment, standing beside the most dangerous man in the world, something inside me shifted. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready. Because I wasn't just his wife. I was his reason. And as the first gunshot rang through the mansion, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just a marriage. It was a war. If your heart is racing right now, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next part is where everything explodes. Secrets exposed, blood spilled, and love tested in fire. The first gunshot shattered the silence like glass. I didn't scream. I didn't freeze. I moved. Lucien pulled me behind him just as bullets tore into the wall where my head had been seconds earlier. Marble shattered. Alarms screamed. The world turned red and loud and terrifyingly real. "Stay behind me," he ordered. I grabbed the back of his coat instead, heart slamming against my ribs. "I'm not letting you die alone," I said. He didn't argue. That's how I knew how bad it was. Men flooded the corridor. Black masks, rifles raised, eyes cold and hungry. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to erase him. And me with him. Lucien moved like violence given form. Every step was precise. Controlled. Brutal. But even as he fought, he kept himself between me and the bullets, his body a shield. Go! He shouted over the chaos. No. I yelled back. I'm not leaving you. That's when it happened. A shot rang out, too close, too sharp. Lucien staggered. The world slowed. Lucien! I screamed, catching him as he fell to one knee. Blood bloomed across his shirt. My hands shook as I pressed against the wound, panic roaring in my ears. No, 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 you don't get to die. You don't get to leave me. He looked up at me, eyes dark but focused. You should be running, he whispered. I leaned down, forehead against his. You married the wrong woman if you thought I'd ever do that. Something shifted in his eyes. Not fear. Not pain. Something like surrender. Then reinforcements stormed in. The attackers were overwhelmed, dragged away, and the danger extinguished as suddenly as it had come. But I barely noticed. All I saw was him. Stay with me, I begged. Please. His hand came up, brushing my cheek, smearing blood there. His blood. I was never afraid to die, he murmured. Until you. Tears blurred my vision. You don't get to say things like that and leave. He gave the faintest smile. You've made me greedy. I want a future now. Help arrived. Medics rushed in. Orders were shouted. Hands pulled me back. As they lifted him onto a stretcher, his fingers found mine. Stay, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere, I promised. Not ever. Hours later, I sat beside his hospital bed, exhausted, hollow, terrified. The world outside still whispered his name in fear. But here, under sterile lights, he was just a man fighting to stay alive. When his eyes finally opened, relief crashed through me so hard I sobbed. He looked at me, weak but smiling. You're still here, he said. Unfortunately for you, I sniffed, wiping my face. I'm very hard to get rid of. He laughed softly, then winced. I was wrong, he said. About what? About you being my weakness. His fingers tightened around mine. You're my strength. I leaned down, resting my forehead against his. And you, I whispered, are not a monster. He exhaled, eyes closing. Then stay, he murmured. Stay and prove. I did. Weeks passed. Then months. The enemies fell. The threats faded. The world slowly stopped whispering his name in fear, and started whispering it with awe. And me? I stayed. I learned his scars. His silences. His soft smiles he only gave when he thought no one was watching. I married the man the world feared. And in return, he gave me his heart. Not as a weapon, but as a promise. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more dark romance stories like this. This was I Married a Monster the World Feared, and sometimes, the most dangerous love stories are the ones worth surviving. Crescent Moon until next time on Moonlight.